Welcome, everyone, to episode 30 of Sovereign AF Podcast. I'm your host, Regina, and unfortunately, our co host, Cynthia, couldn't make it today, but really excited for this episode. We are going to dive into all things homesteading. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, everybody's welcome. And we are going to learn a bunch of stuff from our guest, Steph, who I'm going to let her introduce herself. She is a homesteader, entrepreneur. She teaches you how to exit the system, all things homesteading. And one thing I want to say that's really cool that I learned about you, Steph, is you teach people, even if they live in a one-bedroom apartment like me, how you can start to be more self-sufficient and do some homesteading, even if you don't have, land and acres. So thank you so much for being here with me, Steph.
Thank you so much for having me. This is definitely going to be fun because even in that intro, you cut out a whole bunch of times. So
Oh,
I'm like, I hope I know where she's ending so I can start talking.
oh
But where do you
man.
go? If I don't
Yeah.
talk, it's just because you're frozen and I don't know what just happened.
Yeah. Guys, bear with us. We're having a
It
windstorm here in
happens.
Idaho, and it could go in and out. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. We're going to keep going. Hey, Ellen. Hey, Steve. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so she's calling in calm winds for us. Calm
Oh, wait.
winds. But yeah, Steph, give us a better intro on you. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, so I am somebody that forever and ever and ever I battled with some chronic health issues, and no one was helping me. I tried to see every specialist. It was decades, thousands of dollars spent. And I live in Canada, so that's outside of the medical system, including the stuff, or in addition to what was spent inside the medical system, which is free. So it took some time. It took me being put on a off-label use chemotherapy drug and having some organs removed.
Whoa.
Years after that, seeing a class action lawsuit on American television for this medication I was put on for me to kind of wake up and go, something's not right here. What the heck? How did we not know that this was a chemotherapy drug and all of the side effects I experienced? Fun fact, that medication is still on sold today. There's been
That
over 1,000
surprise.
class action lawsuits over it. So many people lost their lives. But that was like my intro to I need to figure this out, which led me to why is my body reacting? What's in the food? What's in the products? What am I putting in my body that my body's reacting? Why? And so from that, it was okay. I'm terrified of going to the grocery store. I'm terrified what I'm buying. I need to figure this out. I need to have control, which led me to I can grow food. It can't be that hard.
Oh,
And it was. I I started growing over 10 years ago and killed every plant I planted. No matter what I did, reading the books, watching the YouTube videos, listening to the gurus, everything, nothing seemed to work. And by then, the
mm,
more that I was learning, it was the system is not okay. And I don't want to be spending all this money on organic or trying to connect with farmers and not knowing, are they good? Are they bad? And not having additional income because I was in university, not having extra income to play with that. So that was kind of like my beginning. And then when 2020 happened, I had been feeling like something's not right even before all of that happened. And it was this,
yeah.
I need to get it together. I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong because I'm still not able to avoid the grocery store. I'm still spending all this money and wasting all this food that just dies literally in my garden or when I'm buying food from CSAs and like it just dies in the back of my fridge type of thing.
Hmm.
And it was fall of 2021. No, it was fall of 2020. I sat down after another year, another harvest of everything died. I've tried a new way. What the heck is wrong? I need to be able to
Yeah.
feed my kids. And the world is just insane. So I sat down, figured out what I had been doing wrong, that no one was teaching, and it pissed me off. And I was able to, so when fall of 2021 happened and the mandates came in, my job went away, my marriage went away, I became a single mom with no income overnight.
Wow.
I didn't have to go to the grocery store until it was either August or September. So like 9 months later.
Wow.
So and I was able to earn an income. Like I was out of the system
Mm,
almost overnight because of what I had been able to figure out and what I had been able to simplify in terms of growing your own food, preserving it, living more self-sufficiently, that
mhm,
it doesn't matter whether you have land or you live in an apartment. And I was able to
mm.
take this knowledge that I implemented for myself and got out of the system really fast after screwing it up. And like I still have a black thumb. Like it's brown now. I still um able to teach others and simplify it while still making it fun and not apocalyptic, like the world's going to end and what are we going to do, but really bringing back the fun and simplicity into it, where you're not constantly overwhelmed of a million people telling you conflicting information that then keeps you like, am I doing it right? Instead, we boil it down to this, then this, then this, and you
Mm,
learn. The way I teach it, it doesn't matter whether you're in an apartment or if you have a whole bunch of land, because it's strategic and you're able to make a better assessment of how to use your resources, how to maximize them really, really quickly, in order to get out. So then you have freedom of choice and be able to get to define your days and just
mm.
breathe and relax and live, like actually live and not be in a state of nervous system chaos. So that's
Yes.
like,
Oh my. Speaking right to me with that one for sure. I also have a black thumb.
yep.
Real quick, every plant I've ever had until recently has died. But then I recently got an indoor tower garden, which was really cool. And I'm excited to set that up after I move again. Because you could put it anywhere. But I am just starting to learn about gardening. I don't know what I'm doing. But there's so many questions, and guys, feel free to ask questions. I mean, what you just said, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to begin, honestly. I want to know all about homesteading, but I also want to know how you are financially um self-sufficient, and or I don't know if those tie together or not. Where do you want to start?
Wherever really. Um, I yeah. Um, I guess we'll go the financial piece, because I think that
Yeah.
that is a big concern for people. And when you are, we live in a world where money is such a big driver, and we are told that money is kind of the be all end all, and you have to make more and have more in order to get anything in life. And that's actually not true. And so I teach this as
Mm,
part of my program too, not only like how to look at and not look at money in like a manifestation type of thing, but like
yeah.
actually practical skills in
Mm,
terms of money and where your money is going and how you're spending it and sort of shifting things. But also then how to make more money without having to like work overtime, like that type of deal.
yeah.
Um, so I am self-sufficient when it comes to money, and I have been able to create that again, like rapidly,
Wow.
because I learned the skills, the practical life skills of like eating, clothing, the things that we spend our money on, being able to reduce those expenses significantly, very, very quickly, without being like off grid and some like hobo weirdo type of
With
thing.
the Amish community.
Yeah, like I am nothing like that. Seriously. You would not even know. Like you really wouldn't know being in my house and like just living with me or being around me. Like you would not know. Um, so it really is this sort of looking at where your expenses are and then what you actually require. And a lot
Mm,
of people, because of our conditioning, we are stuck in this fear state of like, you have to have a job, you have to have a salary, you have to like live for retirement and have these
right.
retirements and pensions and investments and all this stuff. And we avoid looking at what does it actually cost me to go out and work? And where is my income actually increasing? Or am I still getting the same dollar value that I was the 10 years ago? Is it
Mm,
still $40,000 10 years
yeah.
ago and today? Has it changed at all? Has it changed based on my costs? Like we really start to sort of unpack those numbers and create
Mm,
a better balance, which works for you, giving you more peace and freedom in your life, which then flips into creating income in a way that is super passionate for you that also doesn't play into this society that we have now that you see on Instagram and whatnot, where it's this like cash grab for
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So I am so much more like, let's make it be real and human and simple
Mm.
and fun and enjoyable and not this sleazy, dark urgency,
Yes. Like
negativity.
overly aggressively greedy, salesy,
Yeah.
over hustle minded, like overly masculine too, like aggressively. A lot of these, sorry to interrupt stuff, but what I'm finding, a lot of these big influencers are just overly aggressively salesy. And it's all about money, 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 money. And that doesn't resonate with me anymore. And I'm in sales. That doesn't resonate, this overly aggressive, whether it's male or female. I just don't like all these big influencers that are talking about money and hustling and, just one more sale today, just keep pushing like this overly. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
this doesn't resonate with me anymore.
Yep.
Yep.
Or all the reels that are like, here's half of the thing, comment to get the rest of it. And
Ah,
it's just
yeah.
like this barricade where it's less about human connection and actually helping people
Yeah.
versus still that I masked as we. Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like I've just been intuitively going more to like human community. Let's help each
Yeah.
other. Let's tap back in. Let's use the resources. When you're in my program and you're in my space, it is 100% what do you have? I don't want you to spend any more money. Like I
Mm,
don't want you having to go out and like buying all these extra additional things in order to homestead. It's like, no, just tell me what you have and I'm going to show you how to use it. And then you're going to
mm,
be able to capture more money in your budget and then you can go out and do whatever the heck you want. Like it's so much more of maximizing what you have. And like there's so much that you can do that we don't
mm.
even realize. You don't need to spend stupid amounts of money, and business does not need to be sleazy. It has to be
Yeah.
authentic. Otherwise,
Mm.
why? Why? It just bleh.
I love that. I love that stuff. I really do. That resonates really big for me. And I feel like that's where I've been stuck lately is what am I doing? I'm in the financial field. I'm still in there and I always help people more than just with finances. I'm always helping them and telling them what I really think we're headed financially, which is we're going to have a reset. I mean, our all of these major systems are crumbling and community is where we're going to be. That's what's most important anyway, right? But it's hard. I've been struggling to try to function in this reality while all the major systems, financial system, medical system, education, our food, our poison food, they're all crumbling. The truth is being revealed. And it's like, well, where do I go to make money? Like I want to feel good about what I'm doing. I have to survive. And, what do I really want to be doing is coaching, healing, have land and a healing center and, doing goat yoga and helping people intuitively and doing my podcast, which makes no money. Right? But it's like, well, how do no I guess I need to remove that block of, well, nobody's gonna pay you today, Regina, to do all this stuff, but, um, that's a mental block that I have. But yeah, I still have like this matrix state job, we'll call it. Um, And I think the more aware people in this reality of what's really going on are struggling the hardest. And my mom's like, just who cares? Just go get a job. I'm like, you don't understand. I can't work in the medical system. I can't work in, I'm in the financial system. I don't know how. Like, I don't like our debt, greed, slavery system. But I try to find alternative style investments to help people. Um, I'm not mainstream in any way, but it's like, how do you find, you have to create your own really nowadays. If it's really going to resonate, if it's really going to help people, you have to create your own. But yeah, I love what you're sharing. So hey Amy, hey Brian, hey Monica. Welcome guys. Feel free to ask questions. We're talking about homesteading and how Steph built a homestead. She has an amazing course, which we're going to talk about. She got out of the system and is self-sufficient. And why don't we dive into a little homesteading? Like, what are some, let's just say beginners, like I'm a beginner. What are some of the main tips you would say to start? Like, where should someone start, basically?
I hate that question.
Oh no.
No, and it's not because of what you think. Okay, I shouldn't say that I hate the question. I hate the answer most people give. Most people
Mm,
give is just start. Like I wouldn't be
mm,
asking that question if I knew where to start. So stop
right.
it. I I I hate that I see that everywhere. So the biggest thing that I help people or I walk my students through or like when I do workshops and stuff is look at the money. So going back to kind of what you just said
Okay.
is the financial piece of it. We think of how am I going to create money? How, I need to work somewhere and we are built in this society of money. But we
Mm,
also know that money is digital. It is literally just created. They type in a new number and that's the way that it is. It
mm,
is not real. And I'm not getting into this
mhm,
existential like manifestation money thing. What I am saying is the creation of this idea of we have to work in order to get money to pay for us to live. Take out the money. Go back to what do you need to live? What do you do on a
mm,
daily basis? What food are you eating? What products are you buying? Get back to what skills do I need in order to have those myself? Whether that's I'm
mm,
creating them myself, I'm growing the food, I'm preserving it, I'm making the soaps, whatever. Or
mm,
is there a place in my community where I can access these as well? So you're actually taking out the middleman of society, that boss, that corporation, that whomever you want to label it as. You're taking out that middleman and putting the power back to yourself, which was just taken in about 2 generations. It's like the 50s, 60s, where people, and it ties to when women were more put in the workforce. Like the 90s is
yeah.
when the scales tipped, where the women were out. People stopped growing their own gardens. They stopped having that food and that knowledge of how to go out on a walk and know what plants were going to kill you, what ones you could eat, what ones you could use for medicine. So look at just your day to day and start taking intentional inventory, put it into your awareness, and then relate that to, okay, what skill do I want to learn? And go from there. What do you spend
Mm,
your money on?
wow. Interesting. So is your course, is it customized? Because it sounds like, I mean, this is kind of a customized approach, not a one size fits all. Like if someone has 50 acres or if they live in a one bedroom apartment, if someone has a family of four, they're single, right? Like, is it kind of customized per person or?
So here's the fun thing is the program is not customized for each person. The person customizes it for themselves.
Okay.
So um I like to call them kind of pivots. There's a range of things you need to look at. You could do it this way, you could do it this way. Here's the different options. And so when so I hop on calls with people before you even jump into my program. It's like, I want to learn more about you. We want to see if it's a good fit. What are your needs? And then I can see if it's going to work with us. And then I can
Mhm.
tell you, here's your path to start. And
Right.
so they then get sort of these lists of questions that then bring information into their awareness that they then know how to customize their own plan
Okay.
versus being bombarded with a whole bunch of information that is not applicable to them, whether that's, and because no one has the same situation. So that's how
Right.
much money you have, how much time you have. If you have kids,
Mm,
how are they young? Are they old? Do they have health issues? What health issues are in your family? How much land do you have? How much space in your apartment you have? What, direction your windows face? Like it
mm,
literally comes down to just the minute information. But rather than that being overwhelming, of just trying to like go on YouTube and everything. It's literally, here's your next step. Here's your next step. Here's your next step. You know
right.
exactly what you need to do. And it doesn't take you long to consume the information and then to actually take the action. It's
Okay.
very get off your butt and get it done.
Right.
And yeah, it becomes so simple and so fun. And so you're able to see the progress really, 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 really fast.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to like figure out, um, like I almost want to just tell you my situation just to give the viewers an example. Cause I'm like, how do we do this if it's so customized? Like, how do we dive into your course and everything that you offer in terms of, we're not just talking about homesteading now, we're talking about really being self-sufficient and bringing things back to you, your family, and the community, which is amazing. Um, like someone like me, I am moving from a one-bedroom apartment to a two-bedroom, two-bath townhome. Basically the same thing. I don't know if I'll have access to any of the surrounding land. That's gonna be one of my first questions. Can I put some little, garden boxes out there? But I do have a tower garden where I can grow 32 plants, and I can get an extension to even grow 50. So that's pretty cool, and I've been thinking about the first time I started the tower garden, I had no idea. I have a black thumb, like you were saying, and I just threw a bunch of plants in here. I'm like, "Oh, this sounds good." And it went wild and it took over the living room. Not only that, it didn't grow as well as it should because some plants are like overpowering other plants, but some I guess like and I have the desire to really like make a list of things that I need, like soap, laundry detergent, face wash, face oil, shampoo, conditioner, like cleaning stuff. Like, how can I make this stuff at home? So, is that a good first step? Is like doing a budget, seeing what am I spending every month? Where's my money going? And then also, what are the things I need for me and my and if you have a family or not, like, okay, we need soap, we need laundry detergent, blah, 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 and, like, all of those things you can make at home, and then what is the main foods that you're eating, right? And how can you start to, just focus on, like if you're like me, I'm a creature of habit, and especially when I'm trying to eat healthier, organic, whole foods, getting my meats from the local farms. I tend to eat the same boring stuff. I really do. So if I can start to eliminate, okay, lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower. If I could start to check off some of those things growing on my own, that's a huge deal, right? So is that like kind of where you would tell, or where would you tell me to start?
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of what we do is we really look at what it is you're spending your money on, and then what do you need to do to replace that? And so
Mhm.
in basics, which is what the program is called, you work through that and then you immediately go to here's how you actually make those things. Here's the recipe. Here's how you get the ingredients. Here's
Oh.
what you're looking
Mm.
for. So it's not like you're going then out and having to figure out all that information yourself. It
Mhm.
is all in one place in a very simple tested basic, here's all the fun fancy things you can do, sure, whatever, but here's your basic, what you need tested, done for you. And then we definitely get into more specifics in the growing. Like, okay, growing, here's what you eat, but here's what you need, like in terms of space requirements or whatever. You start to then look at what do I have the capacity for? And if I don't have the capacity, what can I do instead? And then how can I still
Mhm.
get those things, but I don't have the capacity for it? How does this then work? we delve every area, each one of the skills, we delve further into to then customize to what your needs are. But definitely the starting point is, what am I spending my money on? Because that's ultimately what you need to have a look at.
Right. And I can tell you right now, all of my money, other than, you know, like housing fees, rent, utilities, all of my money goes to food and supplements.
Mhm.
Um, all all of it. Food and supplements. That's the biggest expense I have. So if I can eliminate some or all of that, that would be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can. Absolutely you can. And it just
Yeah.
takes a little bit of knowledge, as well as I think the biggest thing that most of my students come with is, you're there to answer questions. You're there when I get in my head or I get stuck or I'm not sure where to go next. And it's just somebody that's done it, that
Mhm,
understands how to think. And so you can continue to replace and capture that money back,
mhm,
where you then don't need a job. You then
mhm.
can pursue a passion elsewhere. And if the entire system collapses, you know that you're okay because you weren't relying on the system anyways, which is the coolest thing.
Yeah, so basically getting started is eliminating a lot of the expenses, and then you're saying kind of finding a passion of where you can get paid or where you can make some money, whether you're making products and selling them, like all the stuff that you've learned to do, or some other passion that you have. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yep.
Yep. Awesome. Wow. And you said you were able to do this in how long, Steph?
So I've kind of figured out from the point that I sat down, well, not even
Mhm,
sat down, when the point that I'm like, okay, I have to figure out what's wrong. This is like my last growing season that I'm going to try something new. And then it was that fall that I went, okay, where am I going wrong? It was about 18 months that then I could fully sit back and go, wow, over those last 18 months, I didn't have to rely on the system. Like, I became so much more self-sufficient over those 18 months. So I say it was about 18 months for me, and I have students that are doing it in less than 12.
wow. So let's dive into somebody's story, whether it's yours or a student. And can you walk us through that, the either their process or your, which one do you want to tell us about? How about yours?
Okay.
Your process of that 18 months, like summarize it for us if you can. Like, first I learned to do this, then I started making this, and then now I'm teaching others with this course. Like, what was that process like?
Well, really, my process was over a decade because I was trying to learn skills
Right.
and they just were failing epically. So
Mm,
there were certainly some skills, like I had, figured out how to make lotion earlier
mm,
on. I'd figured out how to cook. That was one thing. But I was still making food that was filled with sugar. I just was
mm.
making stuff at home. So
Yeah.
over time, learning the better ingredients and going through that whole, these are the better ingredients, but they're not actually that good of ingredients, that gets us more into still playing with society and how they mess with our health, like plant-based and all that stuff. Um, so it has been a culmination of journey where food was probably my second. Products was first because it was simple. Food
Mm,
was second in cooking and then trying to grow.
okay.
Income was kind of like throughout, but not really going after it, but just kind of like, oh, this is something fun that's a passion and people want to pay me for it. So like I'll make, $7 here or there. Like
Right.
just really simple things that were all in person. Um, and then it wasn't until 2020, fall of 2020. And then, so I figured out the gardening, fall of 2021. I was done. No job, no income, and I was fine. I
Wow.
brought in the business shortly. It was launched 2 months. 2 months after that, and I've never looked back. And it started very small. But because
Wow.
I had learned the skills and then were able to figure out the strategies, the missing holes to make it self-sufficient in while still raising young children that required me like 24/7. Um, yeah, I haven't looked back, and I'm entering year 3 now, and it just
Wow.
keeps getting
It's
better
amazing.
and simple and relaxing, and I don't spend all my time doing anything. I'm like never in the garden, so or the kitchen, so don't worry.
I definitely want to know what you're doing. So Ellen has a question, but Ellen, it's really like five questions in one. Let me break this down. She said, okay, first part of her question, can you really do everything on your own without sharing the work or sharing what is produced?
Oh, okay, I love this. So, here's the fun thing. Self-sufficiency and self-reliance are two different things. So self-reliant means that you 100% do everything yourself. You are reliant on yourself. Self-sufficient means that you have enough for your needs. How you get those needs met is
Mhm.
completely up to you, whether that's through somebody else, through community collaboration, through whatever it is. We are all self-sufficient in society, like literally just putting this together now because we all have a job, and we're
Mhm.
able to pay for our means. Um, but self-sufficient in terms of what I'm talking about, yeah, you are able to rely, like you can go to the grocery store and buy stuff if you want. You can go to a farm and buy if you want. You can go to your neighbor and get what you want. You just get to choose what your options are and how much you take on yourself or not.
Okay.
But you have to know the skills.
Right.
Otherwise, you're plugged into the system. The biggest thing for me is get the frick out of the system, because
Yeah.
then you aren't put in a position where you want to learn, you want to learn, you want to learn, and then now your push comes to shove, which we have seen with mandates and things, whether you
Mm.
agreed with it or not. A lot of people were up against a wall or felt really, really uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and nobody wants to be put in a position where like you can't seek medical care because you don't have the money, or you can't seek um like
Yeah.
whatever. You want to be taken care of. Well, if you learn natural remedies, if you learn herbalism, if you learn how to go and find the plants yourself, you don't have to feel afraid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All that self-sufficiency and knowledge is so powerful. Otherwise, you are plugging into one of the corrupt systems of basically all our major systems in society is corrupt. So, I mean, and I see it all the time, friends and family, get another ailment, then they're plugged even more into the corrupt medical system if you don't know how to heal naturally yourself. Hey, Jen. Hey, James.
and
Okay. Well,
it takes a while to,
yeah.
like for me, it took me about a decade of me trying to learn these skills before I finally figured out what needed to be learned. And that's
Right.
because there's so much information and noise from
Right.
from all over the world. And like
Yeah.
you're in the US. So for Canadians like myself, we're learning from people in California. Like you guys don't have winter in some places, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
it becomes this, you're learning from the wrong people. You're
Yeah.
learning, or you're loving somebody that's got cows and goats and sheep, and you're like, I would love that. That's so fun. But if you actually tapped in and like listened to yourself and like learned what that required of you, you may not choose that. But you
Right.
still want a level of freedom. But you're also learning from people that don't actually get to chill on their days, that don't actually have a whole lot of income coming in. If you look at homesteading groups, the number one question is how are you able to live this life without having 3 different jobs? Or do you have jobs outside of homesteading? And the
Right.
number one answer is yes, I cannot do this without.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm over here going, you're looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And now my students are like, yeah, I get to quit my job
I'm
because
so excited about your course. Oh my God.
it's like it is what the world needs right now, because we
Mm.
look at it so wrong in terms of money. We keep ourselves trapped in this idea of society, which keeps us controlled and plugged into a system versus going out and layering, strategically layering in the skills.
Right.
That's the biggest thing of what I help people do, is how you can layer in the skills to then that time that it would take you 10, 20 years. Some people that have been doing it for that long still don't understand where they're going wrong.
Yeah.
And you can fix it to a matter of months in some cases.
And there's all these shortcuts because of people like you who have studied for decades. Like you can help someone like me fast track it so I'm not taking 10 or 20 years learning it, is finding someone who's already condensed all this. Now, I love that is working with someone to help you who's studied for decades. Why do I have to study for decades? Right? Although we should all be wanting to learn, obviously. Um, love that. Okay. Back to Ellen's 50 questions in one. I love you, Ellen. Do you can or do a combination of canning, freezing, and freeze drying?
I don't do freeze drying. I have a whole
Okay.
little thing in the basics about freeze drying.
Okay.
But I do canning, all different kinds of canning, all different methods of preserving.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't do freeze drying.
Is there a reason? Because I've
Um,
always been interested in getting a freeze dryer. Should I not?
so to me is, what's the point?
Hmm.
Because freeze drying, we didn't have that decades ago.
Okay.
So freeze drying is kind of that apocalyptic type thing. Really, you want to have the skills to be able to have the fresh food, preserve it, which can last a couple of years. You're
Hmm.
not planning 20 years in the future. You should still be able to actively produce and have the seeds and forage and all of those things, to have good quality food. Otherwise, you're spending a whole lot of money to then use all this energy resources that you're
Mm.
either going to consume within the next year, or you're letting it sit there for 20 years. Why?
Yeah. Interesting thought. Huh.
There's a whole lot
And
more that I go into
interesting
that.
thought there. Yeah. And her last question, which I'm going to add to this question because so she said, is it not easier to co-op with other people and friends? I'm assuming that you team up with other people, maybe even in your group, or that's local, like a bunch of people in the same community take your class or something. I would imagine you can get self-sufficient faster if you are like kind of splitting up the tasks of who's growing what, who's raising what, right? Who's foraging what, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's a great way to make get to self-sufficiency faster. Would you agree?
Yes and no,
Okay.
because it does take you time to find people that then you can connect with and then figure out who's going to be doing that. And then you also have to look at the bulk style of it. If it's like, okay, you're really good at growing strawberries, well, can you grow strawberries for my family too? Well, that could be that it's you have to grow a shit ton of strawberries and then you have to preserve them for then this other family. Like it really just depends. But absolutely, if you
Mm,
can create those relationships with people, that it might work for one person here or one person there versus like an entire group, you probably will have more and better results than a co-op, because a co-op has its own downfalls, like society in
mm,
general, but absolutely. And I teach this in my program of how to strategically build those relationships based on the assessments that you make, to have the best, fastest results versus our traditional of like CSA, co-ops, that type
mhm,
of thing. Because we want to take out
yeah,
the middle a lot more,
mhm,
uh, and really start changing and shifting how we think in terms of doing this, because
mhm,
our gut instinct is to kind of like do less or like rely on other people more,
mhm,
um which is fine, and I fully support this, and like I do things myself with my community members and whatnot, but it truly is, in order to do it the fastest, is making a better assessment of what you need and who can actually provide that for you versus like a really, and this is what I'm assuming she means by like a co-op group where it's like 5 or 10 people coming together and having like more of that.
Right. And then, I mean, you always have to be kind of careful if you're going to then rely on somebody else, right? For something, and how important is it that you're relying on someone else? So you always want to have a level of self-reliance.
Yeah.
But I imagine like making relationships in the community with like local farms, maybe if you are now creating your own lotions and oils, or you're growing a certain crop and that farmer isn't, you can maybe set up some type of barter system,
Yep.
but just know that you are relying on that person for beef or whatever you're relying on. So if you don't have it yourself, just kind of be cautious there. But I'm all for in bartering and,
Absolutely. We go through that in the program too, of looking at how do you barter and trade? How do you find these relationships? How do you cultivate these relationships? What are you looking at as the give and the take? We really go back to those old skills that were passed on. Like the kids would come to, the neighbor's farm or the community dances or like whatever it was, and they would learn these skills. Whereas nowadays, like you go to Asia and you're in the markets and you're like, I don't know how to barter. What the heck is this? Like it's such a
yeah.
lost art. And so we absolutely definitely go through that because it's it's hard to know who your people are
Mm,
and who actually understands what it is you are trying to do versus
right.
who's still looking at money as money.
Right. I love that mindset shift about money. Because as I'm like thinking about like, okay, girl, I'm just gonna be honest. When I heard about your course, I'm like how you teach people to be self-sufficient, some of them 12 months or less. I'm like, this gotta be some type of MLM, like peer, and I'm not gonna lie, I've done some MLM. There's some good products out there. Like I'm not hating, right? But I'm like, man, she's got to be selling some MLM. Like, how is she helping people?
Nope. My
So
biggest thing
yeah,
is I think I think one of the reasons why my business has been able to actually bear fruit is because I'm real and I
yeah.
get down in the dirty with you. And we have support calls. Like it's a program in and of itself that you can go into the portal and you get all your steps and everything. And it takes you offline. That's the biggest thing is it takes you offline. So you're not constantly in there. But we have support calls. And so you can show up with your questions, you're in the community. Um, and it's someone there that's walking you through and keeping you accountable. So you're not constantly going on the internet and watching YouTube and scrolling and saving all the reels and the posts and then forgetting about it and really freezing. No, instead we actually move you forward. And so I think that that's because I'm so real and like I burn water, I kill plants, like I'm able to come at it from a different perspective of if your resources are here, this is what you're looking at. This is where you're going. If your resources and your desires are here, this is where you're going. And so I'm just here for you. I'm here to help you. And yeah, there's a price tag on it. There's also a lot of free stuff that I do. I mean, you can go to my bio and join the summit that I put on earlier, but there's I want to help people. It's about the
Mm,
people and it's about put your money where your mouth is. Like it's not like my program is absolutely outrageous, but you're
mhm,
gonna get your money's worth very fast. Very fast. I don't leave you behind and it's
mm.
lifetime access. So I grow, you grow. And then
I
like I
love that. I grow, you grow. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. You're stuck with me for life. So sorry. Whether you're in an apartment now and an acreage in 5 years, like it's all there for you. So am I. And we build on the income piece too, which tends to come kind of later in the process. But business gets to be simple. Business gets to be fun. It does not have to be all these flashy websites and funnels and icky salesy stuff and all this business
Fluff.
coaching that just feels like I'm
Yeah.
in lab that I need what you have in order to be able to do it. no, I am very much, this is how you do it. And everybody's like, oh, that feels so much better. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, because
I
it's real,
love that.
it's normal.
I love that. So you have your course, obviously, which is kind of like you customize it for yourself and you have group calls. So it's kind of like you're in a group, but you're going through it at your own pace, right?
Yeah.
Do you offer any one-on-one support? Like, let's say
Yeah,
someone wants to fast track, they're like, I just want Steph to myself. Let's go.
absolutely. If anybody wants that, you can absolutely reach out and we can work something out depending on what your needs are.
Awesome. I want that.
I'm here for you.
I'm so happy you reached out. Hey, Jason. Hi, Mariana. Okay, Ellen again. Now, Ellen's in Tennessee, so I can't wait to be there with her. We're totally going to barter and do stuff. She said, I was mostly thinking of finding like-minded people. One might do chickens, another fruit, another veggie. And I understand that. And I think that's cool. And you and I can totally do that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Like if you find somebody that is aligned with you and you can kind of figure out who has what strengths and capacity, absolutely work together.
Mhm.
It's kind of no different than like a husband and a wife situation where,
Yeah.
one's building the garden boxes and the other person is like pulling the weeds or like whatever it is.
Mhm.
You play on each other's strengths. So yeah, make it work. If it works, you make it work.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Any other questions, guys? Thank you guys for tuning in. We're talking about homesteading, but I didn't know before this conversation that it was going to go so much further beyond, and it's almost more self-sufficiency and becoming independent of the systems. Like I guess when I think of homesteading, what comes into my mind is like gardening,
Mhm.
chickens, right? This is like above and beyond. This is eliminating all your expenses, creating a source of income through your passion, and also learning to create all the things that you need, food, soap, laundry detergent, all of that kind of stuff. So I was coming into this episode kind of limited, like, oh, we're going to talk about gardening. Great.
No, it's what I teach and how I teach it is very different than what people expect. And
Yeah.
so because homesteading on like social media has like brought it to the farm. And that's where like no, I'm going to take you away from that and really understand of what you want and what you need and what your resources are. And you are going to detach from the system so fast because those people that are on the farms, most of them are not detached from the system.
Mm,
They're living a life that looks all pleasant, but they actually aren't detached. They're not free. They're not free to make choices without that extra stress. I think another one
right.
of the things that a lot of my students say is they start the program and they think like, oh, it's going to be gardening and like canning and whatnot. And then they get in and they're just like, in the first month, in the first, like just the pre-work that they go through, it's wow.
Mm,
Wow, my nervous system relax. I feel like my femininity can come forth. There are people that are getting off of like antidepressant medications. There are people like you just step into your
wow.
life and you're living with intention now because I teach the practical skills of it and simplify and like way different than what you find online, teaching it that way, that then the mind emotional piece just naturally happens. And now I've got a podcast that goes more into like the mind emotional part of it, that human
Mm,
part.
yeah.
But yeah, it is so much outside of homesteading, but like what do you call it? Like that people would understand.
Yeah. Like it's almost like homesteading slash complete self-sufficiency and exiting the system. Like, yeah.
Cut off grid. Like that's the thing is like you're not like this weirdo that's living in the woods. You're
Right.
literally like in a condo or in an apartment or whatever, but you get to choose what part of the system you are in and you do it with intention. You take part in the
Mm,
system with intention so you are still in control. that's kind of the biggest thing, is you're still sovereign in who you are because you have a better awareness and the knowledge of the skills.
Love that. And that aligns so much with what I'm trying to do with Sovereign AF is this is not just a podcast. This is a community where I want to bring resources like this to people so they can become less reliant on these corrupt systems. Like all these systems are crumbling. What do we do about it? How do we take our sovereignty back? And then as they crumble, how do we build new systems? That's what Sovereign AF is about. And people will join the Facebook group and they hear the term sovereign and they don't really know what is this about, or they'll think it's about the whole movement of becoming a state national, like getting away from the US corporation, which I'm sure is kind of similar in Canada. It's not just that, although that we've had episodes on that, but it's about, are you still eating the poisoned food in the grocery store? Are you still struggling financially? Are you still like plugged into the corrupt medical system and getting all your pills and shots and further poisoning yourself? You know, it's about really taking your sovereignty back in all areas of life. So it's so much more than like one thing. And I think when people come in, they're like, what do I, well, you know, they don't know what to expect either. So it's kind of similar and it really, really aligns with what you're doing, Steph. And there's so many ideas that we need to team up in different ways, I think. Um, hey Joe, hey Jason. Any last questions? I know we started a few minutes late, but I want to be mindful of your time because we had some internet issues. We have a windstorm going on in Idaho. But any last minute questions, pop them in the chat. Steph, what do you want to kind of end on? Like, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your course or how can people join? Like,
Yeah. So in order to join the program, like I said, I keep everything super simple. You got to reach out to me. So you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. It is spruce.acres.homestead. Or you can email me at hello@spruceacreshomestead.com. And then basically you and I just kind of chat back and forth, see if it's a good fit. And then you're welcome to join the program. And yeah, so just reach out to me. I'm a real human. I like to meet people face to face to to really build that connection because like I said before, I'm here for you. I want to see your progress. I'm invested in you. So your money is it's going to be utilized. That's what I want for you, is to get the best bang for your buck and to learn how to not require money anymore, and to take it even further out of the system in like a way, like, you know, you talked about like supplements and like food and stuff, like that's where you spend your money. It's like, yeah,
yep,
you could find a really good supplement company, or you could learn how to make the supplements yourself by
yep.
foraging the plants, growing the plants. And so you like take it a step further,
Mm,
which takes your money back, takes you minutes to do. And then there's that there that you can then pass on information to other people and utilize that. And it
right.
becomes, as you said, you know, the systems are crumbling and have been for such a long time. And that's pushing people to build community. And it's less about replicating the system. Like, for example, groceries. Grocery store becomes farmer's market, becomes CSA. They're all the same thing, just sort of with like a different title. You still don't know a lot. Whereas we circumvent all that middleman and you
Mm-hmm.
build actual communities where you are bartering and trading. You know your people, you know who you can go to that would have your back. People at the farmers market or the CSA aren't going to have your back. So it's really about building that family friendly, nice
Yeah.
human people
Mhm.
connection of real. So yeah, join the basics. I just went on a little rant there, but the basics, reach out, let me know what you're looking for. We can talk, and I'll see how I can help you. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Mary says, thank you so much. Love this information. Any last minute questions, pop them in the chat. And so we know where to reach you. We know what you're about. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with before we end today?
Yeah, I want to leave you with a resource. So you can go to my Instagram bio and you can find the Basic Skills Summit. Click the link and sign up, and you will get 3 days worth of videos from people across Canada teaching you different skills. And it's all free. So you
Mm.
can go in there and start kind of learning and unpacking a number of things. So go start there. You'll
Wow.
also be on my email list, so then we can connect even further. So yeah, go with that. It's a place to start and write down what you spend your money on.
Awesome. I love it. And there's one more question. So I'm going to end the recording like I usually do. Steph, and can you hang out for just a couple minutes on Facebook with us? And that's kind of the benefit of being in the Facebook group, following on Facebook is you get that little extra touch. Thank you so much, Steph. You are amazing. I'm so grateful that you reached out to me and we made that connection. Um, yeah, I think you're doing amazing things. I'm so excited to support you and be a part of it any way that I can. And just so you know, guys, there's one episode left of the season, and that is May 28th. So a week and a half from now. And then we will break for the summer, but we'll have some surprises for you over the summer. So I will see you May 28th, and we are going to talk about apitherapy and beehive therapy and utilizing bees and the frequency of bees and how amazing bees are and what they all the healing that they provide you. We're going to dive into all of that for next episode, but thank you guys for watching. Please join the Facebook group Sovereign AF. Please follow, like, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. Follow us on Instagram, Sovereign AF Podcast. I love you guys and can't wait to connect to you more. See you on Tuesday. Bye, everybody.